The Christmas lights flickered above, casting a soft glow over the marble floors of the grand mansion. Music drifted through the air, mingling with the faint clinking of glasses. Maya entered, her heels clicking against the stone, a mask of composure firmly in place. Everything about the house screamed perfection. The towering trees, the glittering decorations, the laughter echoing from the ballroom. But the air inside her chest was tight, suffocating. Every step she took felt like walking on a tightrope, the edges of her reality teetering on the brink of collapse. She smiled, but it wasn't her smile. It was the mask she had perfected over the years, the one that hid her feelings, her fear, her constant unease. It's all just an act, she thought. One I play well enough that no one can see through it. But inside, she felt like an outsider. As much as she tried to blend in, the truth gnawed at her. The truth that her family had never really seen her. Not truly. And tonight, she was about to be reminded of it once again. As she ascended the stairs, her mind began to wander. Was tonight going to be different? Or was it just another occasion where she had to pretend that everything was fine, that she belonged? The deepening pit in her stomach told her otherwise. She reached the top of the stairs and paused. The sound of voices came from the hallway, but one voice caught her attention more than the others. It was her father. Maya leaned in closer, her hand gripping the cold brass of the banister. The words that spilled from his lips hit her like a punch to the gut. "They'll see soon enough," he said, his voice low and conspiratorial. "It's time we put an end to her little jewelry business. We've let her play with it long enough. She needs to come back to the family and take her rightful place. Make her understand that this is the only future she has." Maya's breath caught in her throat. Her mother's voice joined in, colder than she'd ever heard it. "We've given her every chance. But this nonsense with her business, it's going to ruin us. She'll come back, or we'll make sure she does." A chill ran down Maya's spine. Her family, the people who should have supported her, had been planning her humiliation all along. The very ones who should have been proud of her accomplishments, who should have celebrated her independence, were plotting to destroy everything she had built. "I thought I was here to celebrate," Maya whispered to herself, her heart pounding. "But it's all just a stage, and I'm the fool playing my part." She turned and hurried down the hallway, feeling the weight of her own betrayal sink deeper into her chest. Every smile, every congratulation she had ever received from them now felt like a lie. The people she had called her family, her foundation, were, in truth, the ones pulling her down. Maya entered the grand hall where the party was in full swing. The bright lights, the laughter, the warmth, it all felt like a cruel joke. As she stepped further into the room, her mother glanced up from a conversation with a family friend. The coldness in her mother's eyes sent a wave of isolation crashing over Maya. "Good to see you, dear," her mother said, her voice flat and distant. No warmth, no affection, just the obligatory greeting. Her sister Olivia's gaze followed Maya as she walked into the room, the look on her face sharp and disdainful. Maya felt like a stranger in a room full of people who should have known her best. She smiled politely, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. It never did anymore. "It's like walking into a room full of ghosts," Maya thought. "I'm here, but I'm not really seen. And the worst part is I'm okay with it. I expect nothing from them anymore." Her mother's dismissive tone, her sister's sneer, the heavy silence that followed every interaction. Maya felt herself shrinking, disappearing into the background. Just another face in a sea of family members who couldn't care less about her. But as the evening wore on, the blows only grew harder. Maya's mother approached her later, her voice sharp with authority. "Maya, you'll have to move out of your old room. We need it for something else. The house is just too full." The words hit her like a slap in the face. The room that had been her sanctuary, her place of childhood memories, was no longer hers. A space once filled with love and history now felt cold and empty, just like the family that inhabited the mansion. "Every corner of this house reminds me of how I've been abandoned," Maya thought, her chest tight with emotion. "But it's not just the room. It's my place in their lives that's being taken away." Her mother's eyes flicked to her once again, calculating, cold, as if Maya's feelings didn't matter. "It's for the best, dear. Don't make this more difficult than it needs to be." Maya wanted to argue, to fight for her place, but she knew it was futile. The decision had already been made. Her space, her memories, her very existence in this family had been reduced to something dispensable, something that could be tossed aside at will. As the night continued, Maya retreated to a quiet corner of the house, her mind racing. The betrayal, the coldness, it was all too much. She had spent so long trying to prove herself, to earn their love and respect, but it was never enough. Every sacrifice, every ounce of effort had been in vain. But as she sat there, alone and disillusioned, a new realization began to form. She had spent so long trying to fit into a family that didn't care for her. But that didn't mean she was helpless. That didn't mean she had to be a victim anymore. "It's easy to break a person when they're left alone," she thought, the weight of the family's rejection pressing down on her chest. "But I've learned something important. It's not the walls that break us. It's the people we trust who tear them down. And I won't let them win." Her phone buzzed, the vibration snapping her back to the present. She looked down at the screen, her heart skipping a beat. It was a message from her business partner, one she hadn't expected. It was a warning. Her family wasn't just trying to humiliate her. They were actively trying to sabotage her business. Everything she had worked for was under threat. And now it was clear that the betrayal ran deeper than she had ever imagined. "I always knew I had to fight for what I wanted," Maya thought, a spark of determination igniting within her. "But now they've made it clear. I'm not just fighting for myself anymore. I'm fighting for my future." She stood, a surge of energy flooding her veins. The game had changed. She was done being passive, done being the pawn in her family's game. This was no longer just about survival. It was about taking back everything they had stolen from her. As she walked toward the door, her childhood home still echoing with memories she could no longer trust, Maya's phone buzzed again. She looked down. Another message. This one was cryptic, a warning about her family's next move. It made her pause. What had they planned for her next? Maya's grip on the phone tightened as she made her way to the door. No more masks. No more pretending. This was her fight now, and she was ready. Maya's heart raced as she leaned back in her chair, staring at the messages and emails flooding her inbox. The truth was becoming clearer, piece by piece, like a jigsaw puzzle she had been forced to put together under duress. The conversation she had overheard earlier, her mother and father scheming to destroy her business. Everything was falling into place. They wanted her back in the fold, to abandon everything she had worked for, all because she refused to follow the family's path. Her palms were sweaty, but she couldn't look away from the screen in front of her. They've played this game for years, and now they're taking it to the next level. But I won't be their pawn anymore, Maya thought to herself. Her breath quickened as the weight of the situation hit her like a ton of bricks. She didn't know where to begin. Should she confront them now? Should she go to the lawyers to protect herself? Maya's mind spun, the intensity of the situation blurring her thoughts. Just as she stood to pace, her phone buzzed, vibrating harshly on the desk. She looked at the screen and saw Jonathan's name flash across the screen. Her stomach twisted. The betrayal she had feared was about to come to the surface. With a deep breath, she answered the call. His voice was cold, detached, nothing like the warmth she used to feel when he was younger, when they were close. "Maya, we need to talk. I know what you heard." His words were clipped, blunt. "And I've made my choice. I'm with them." Maya felt her knees buckle. "What?" "You've made your choice, Mom. We need to move on without you," Jonathan continued, his words like knives. The phone slipped from her hand, and for a moment Maya was frozen. Her son, her own son, the one person she had trusted to understand her, had aligned himself with the very people who were plotting her downfall. Her mind couldn't process it. How could he? But then reality hit hard. He had already chosen them. She had been living in a false reality, one where she thought her son was on her side. But no, he had become part of the conspiracy, part of the plan to humiliate her, to force her back into the family's grip. The shock was overwhelming, but there was no time to dwell in it. This was a war, and it was clear that she was fighting it alone. Maya's chest tightened. How could he betray me like this? Without wasting another moment, Maya stood and grabbed her coat. She was done with this. She couldn't stand there, paralyzed by disbelief. She needed to act. She needed to confront the people who had ripped apart her life, starting with Jonathan. She stormed out of the room, dialing her lawyer's number as she walked down the hall. She had to find a way to protect herself from this attack. As the phone rang, Maya looked at her reflection in the hallway mirror. There was a new resolve in her eyes. "I'm not their pawn," she whispered to herself. "I'll fight them all." The pacing of the evening seemed to slow once again as Maya entered the darkened study, her mind running through the conversation with Jonathan. She had known something was wrong, but to hear those words come from her son, it was a brutal shock. She couldn't let it break her. But as she sat down at her desk, her fingers trembling, she knew she had to make her move now, before it was too late. She needed answers. She needed to confront her mother, to understand why she was involved in this web of lies. But before she could plan her next steps, the truth about the family's conspiracy became even clearer. Maya leaned forward, pulling open a folder she had tucked away months ago. Inside, she found the legal documents, the ones that had always seemed like trivial formalities but now looked different. As her eyes scanned the pages, her breath caught. There it was, evidence that her family had begun tampering with the legalities of her inheritance, manipulating assets and making claims to force her out of her own business. "You may have your lawyers, but you won't have my soul. I'll fight you, Jonathan, no matter what you think you've got over me," she thought, her resolve hardening. She could see the full extent of their betrayal. Her family wasn't just taking her out of the business. They were erasing her from it completely. The silence in the room felt suffocating, but the weight of the documents in her hand gave her a strange sense of purpose. She knew she had to act quickly. Maya's phone rang again, shaking her out of her thoughts. This time, the number was unfamiliar. A voice on the other end was steady, cool. "Maya, you don't know me, but I know everything about Jonathan's plan," the voice said. "He's not the only one with a hand in this." Maya's heart raced. "Who is this?" She could barely comprehend the weight of the words. The voice went on to reveal details about Jonathan's manipulation, how he had been planting fake evidence to destroy her career. It was like the final piece of the puzzle had just snapped into place. "You've crossed the line, Jonathan," Maya thought, gripping the phone tight. "This isn't just business. This is about everything I've built." The phone call ended abruptly, leaving Maya in stunned silence. She had known Jonathan was capable of many things, but this was something else entirely. She had been pushed to the edge, but now Maya was ready. Later that night, Maya sat with her trusted attorney in a small, dimly lit office. The legal battle was intensifying. Every word spoken, every document signed, felt like another weight pressing down on her shoulders. But there was no way back. Maya had already made her decision. "I don't need their approval," Maya said, her voice steady. "I built this myself, and I'll tear down every lie they've built around me." Her lawyer nodded, a look of admiration in his eyes. He had seen many clients crumble under pressure, but Maya's determination was something else entirely. He had no doubt she would win. But as they discussed strategy, Maya couldn't shake the nagging feeling that there was more to uncover. "I don't trust them," Maya muttered. "There's more going on here than just business." Her lawyer agreed, and they began to outline their next move. But even as they strategized, a thought kept swirling in Maya's mind. Who else in the family was involved? The question echoed in her mind, unanswered as she left the office. The following day, Maya received another message from Elaine, her best friend and confidant. Elaine's warning was sharp. "Maya, there's more you don't know. I'm not saying it's Jonathan, but there's someone else in the family trying to sabotage you further. Don't trust anyone, and keep your guard up." Her heart skipped a beat. Who could it be? Maya's mind raced as she considered the possibilities. Had her mother been involved all along? Or was it someone else? Someone even closer than she could imagine? "Who can I trust?" she asked herself, the weight of the betrayal growing heavier with every passing second. Elaine's voice on the other end of the line was a lifeline. "I'll help you uncover it all, Maya. You don't stand alone in this." For the first time in a long while, Maya felt a flicker of hope. But the darkness was still there, lurking just beneath the surface. Maya's confrontation with her mother was inevitable. She had to face her, to demand answers, to force Catherine to admit her involvement in the conspiracy. But when Maya finally sat across from her mother, the tension was palpable. Catherine was evasive, deflecting the conversation with her usual manipulation. "I don't know what you're talking about," Catherine said, her voice smooth, but there was a flicker of guilt behind her eyes. "I've only ever wanted what's best for the family." But Maya could see it now. She could see the lies beneath the surface, the subtle manipulation that had been a constant presence in her life. She leaned forward, her voice steady but fierce. "I know what you're hiding, Mother, and I won't let you ruin me, or the people I care about." Catherine's lips tightened. For a moment, Maya thought her mother might crack, but then the familiar coldness returned. "Don't be foolish, Maya. You're making a mistake." But Maya wasn't listening anymore. She was done being manipulated. And then something caught her eye, a piece of paper tucked under Catherine's desk. The truth was right there. Hidden in the paperwork, buried in a financial statement, was the key. Maya's mother had been involved in a secret bank account, a hidden financial transaction that linked her directly to the scheme to steal Maya's inheritance. "This is the last secret you'll keep from me, Mother," Maya whispered, her voice trembling with outrage. "I'll expose everything." Later, as Maya prepared her legal defense, Her mind raced with the implications of what she had just uncovered. She had found the evidence, but now she was faced with a difficult decision. Should she cut ties with her family completely, or should she continue to fight, knowing that every battle could tear her apart? As she stood in the silence of her home, Maya knew that the only way forward was to fight, to use everything she had learned, everything she had built, to reclaim what was hers. But just as she made her decision, her phone buzzed again. This time, the message was from an unknown number. "I have more on Jonathan," the text read. "You're not seeing the full picture. The truth is darker than you know." Maya froze. Her heart skipped a beat. "What do you know about Jonathan?" she typed back, her hands trembling. The mystery deepened. And with that, Maya knew the fight was far from over. Maya's hands trembled as she stood in the doorway, staring at the woman she once called mother. The walls of the family estate seemed to close in around her, the air thick with betrayal. Her pulse raced, and though she felt the weight of what was about to happen, there was no turning back. This moment had been a long time coming. Catherine, sitting in her usual spot by the window, didn't look up when Maya entered. She adjusted her glasses with a practiced, indifferent air. The very sight of her mother's coldness sent a bolt of anger straight through Maya's chest. How could she have ever trusted her? Maya stepped forward, her voice steady but filled with quiet fury. "How long have you been planning this, Mother? All these years I thought you were on my side, but now I see the truth." Catherine finally turned to face her. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said flatly, her voice as emotionless as ever. "This isn't the time for your games." But Maya wasn't playing games anymore. She was done pretending that this was just a family dispute. This was war, and it was time for the truth to come to light. "I'm done with your lies, Catherine," Maya said, each word biting as she closed the distance between them. "This isn't just about business or the inheritance, is it? You've been manipulating me, using me for your own gain. All these years, all for your own selfish reasons." For a brief moment, Catherine's composure faltered, but she quickly recovered, her face hardening. "You've always been too sensitive, Maya. This is about the family legacy. This was never about you." Maya's heart sank, the weight of those words pressing down on her chest like a vice. The mother who had raised her, who had once been her rock, was now the one who had orchestrated the betrayal of a lifetime. The realization hit her like a punch to the gut. "You were never meant to succeed, Maya," Catherine continued, her voice now dripping with disdain. "This was always about the family legacy, and you were never part of it. You think I did this to hurt you? I did it because the family needed control and you were a liability." Maya stood frozen for a long moment, the full impact of her mother's betrayal sinking in. The woman who had always claimed to love her had used her, manipulated her, and orchestrated a plan to destroy everything she had built. There would be no forgiveness, no coming back from this. Forcing back the flood of emotion rising in her chest, Maya turned and stormed out of the room. She had what she needed now, confirmation of her mother's role in the conspiracy, and a new fire burning in her heart. It was time to fight back. The tension had built so slowly that Maya hadn't even realized how close she was to the edge. But now, as she stood in front of her desk, papers scattered around her, the truth seemed too real to ignore. Her family had planned to destroy her, not just her career, but her entire life. And now it was her turn to strike. She moved quickly, her hands trembling with both rage and determination, as she began to gather the evidence she had painstakingly collected over the past few weeks. The emails, the financial records, the legal documents, all of it was in her hands now. She had enough to bring the whole family down. "It's over, Catherine," she muttered under her breath as she stacked the documents neatly. "The truth is out, and I will make sure everyone knows it." Her phone buzzed, breaking her concentration. It was another message from her lawyer, confirming that the documents had been reviewed. Maya read the text with a steely resolve. "The will has been altered. Catherine has control over everything you were promised. This is bigger than you think." The shock hit her hard. The will. They'd done more than just manipulate her business. They had planned for her to lose everything. Every promise, every hope for her future had been systematically stripped away from her. Maya clenched her fists. She had always known there was more to this betrayal, but to see it laid out in front of her, it was almost too much to bear. "You thought you could erase me, didn't you?" she whispered through gritted teeth, her eyes narrowing. "You were wrong." She wouldn't let them take her life, not without a fight. Maya sat in the lawyer's office, outlining her legal strategy. It was time to fight back. But as the conversation continued, an unexpected thought crept into her mind. Could she trust her lawyer? Could she trust anyone in her life at all? Just as she was about to ask her lawyer a pointed question, her phone buzzed again. A message from Elaine. She opened it, her fingers trembling slightly as she read the words. "Maya, I need to tell you something. You're not seeing the full picture. Jonathan is more involved than you know. But there's someone else, someone in your family, working behind the scenes." Maya stared at the message, her breath catching in her throat. Who could it be? She had thought Elaine was her ally, her confidant, but now the ground beneath her seemed to be shifting. The walls were closing in, and Maya felt more alone than ever. "I can't trust anyone," she murmured to herself, frustration rising. But there was no time for second-guessing. She had to keep moving forward. Elaine's message had unsettled her, but it had also given her something to focus on. Someone within her family was still working against her, and she needed to figure out who. The next day, Maya went straight to confront her mother. The time had come to uncover the full extent of the conspiracy. She had enough evidence now. She just needed the confession. The confrontation was intense. Catherine tried to deny everything, but Maya wouldn't let her off the hook. She pressed harder, demanding the truth. "You're behind this, aren't you? All of it. You've been pulling the strings from the start. Why?" Maya's voice was shaking now, the anger and betrayal threatening to overwhelm her. For a moment, Catherine looked away, but when she spoke, her words were cutting. It was always about protecting the family. "You were just a pawn, Maya. Nothing more." The realization hit Maya harder than anything before. The woman she had always trusted had betrayed her, but now she understood. This was never about family or love. It was always about control, about keeping her in line. Her anger flared, but she kept it under control. "This is the last secret you'll keep from me, Mother. I'll expose everything." As the confrontation with her mother unfolded, Maya's mind was racing. She had uncovered so much, but now there was something more. The legal battle wasn't just about the inheritance anymore. It was about everything, the manipulation, the lies, the control. Maya was done being the victim. She was done being passive. She would fight for her future, and no one, least of all her family, could stop her. With a clear mind and a heart hardened by betrayal, Maya made a decision. She would expose everything. But just as she was about to make her move, a new twist emerged. A mysterious call from an unknown number rattled her to the core. The voice on the other end was familiar, but Maya could barely hear it over the sound of her own heartbeat. I know the truth. It's bigger than you think. Her breath caught in her throat. What truth? Maya demanded. The voice hesitated, then spoke again, low and urgent. The conspiracy isn't just about money. There's more. You're in danger, Maya. They won't stop. Maya's grip on the phone tightened. She felt a cold chill run through her, but she didn't hesitate. She would find out who was behind this. Whoever they were, Maya was ready to face them head-on. The game was changing, and she was no longer a pawn. She was the queen, and it was time to checkmate.